John was born on the 24th of December 1166, the youngest son of King Henry II and his queen, Eleanor of Aquitaine. He was born at Beaumont Palace in Oxford, England, and was the fifth child of Henry and Eleanor. He was known as John Lackland, John without land, because he was not given any significant land holdings as a young prince. Unlike his older brothers, who were given important territories to rule over, John was largely overlooked by his father in terms of power and inheritance. John's oldest brother, Henry, died in 1183, and his next brother, Richard, became king in 1189 after their father's death. This left John as the third in line to the throne, behind Richard and his other brother, Geoffrey. When Richard was captured during the Third Crusade in 1192, John tried to seize the throne, but was unsuccessful. John took advantage of Richard's absence to try to take control of England, but was defeated by Richard's supporters. Richard pardoned John when he returned from captivity in 1194, and gave him some land and made him Lord of Ireland. Despite his previous attempts to seize power, John was eventually forgiven by his brother and given a small amount of land to rule over. Richard died in 1199, and John became King of England. With Richard's death, John finally achieved his long-held ambition of becoming king. He was crowned at Westminster Abbey in May of that year. John married Isabella of Angoulême in 1200, his second marriage. His first marriage was dissolved upon the grounds of consanguinity, and his wife Isabella, Countess of Gloucester, was imprisoned or kept under wardship, in honourable confinement at John's expense until 1214. His second wife caused political tensions with France. Isabella was already betrothed to the Count of La Marche when John abducted her and married her himself. This caused a diplomatic incident with France, as the Count was a vassal of the French king. His second marriage produced 5 children: Henry, Richard, Joan, Isabella and Eleanor. John also had around 9 illegitimate children during the life of his reign. John's reign was marked by conflict with his barons, who resented his high taxes and arbitrary rule. John was not a popular king, and his barons were particularly critical of his taxation policies, which they saw as excessive and unfair. In 1214, John's army was defeated by the French at the Battle of Bouvines, which weakened his position in England. John lost land in France, and this led to John having to sign the Magna Carta, which gave more power to the barons. This defeat was a significant blow to John's military reputation, and it made him vulnerable to criticism and rebellion at home. The following year, John was forced to sign the Magna Carta, which limited the power of the monarchy and protected the rights of the barons. The Magna Carta was a response to John's unpopular rule, and it aimed to curb his power and establish certain basic rights for his subjects. John initially refused to abide by the Magna Carta, leading to civil war. John saw the Magna Carta as a threat to his authority, and he initially refused to accept it. This led to a period of civil war, as his barons rebelled against him. In 1216, John's military position deteriorated, and he died of dysentery while on campaign in eastern England. John's reign ended in tragedy, as he died while trying to suppress a rebellion in the north of England. He was buried in Worcester Cathedral. John was succeeded by his 9-year-old son, Henry III. Henry was the only surviving son of John and Isabella, and he became king at a young age following his father's death. John was a patron of the arts, and commissioned the creation of many illuminated manuscripts. Despite his troubled reign, John was a lover of literature and the arts. He was known for his love of hunting, and would often spend days at a time in the forest pursuing game. John was involved in several wars during his reign, including the First Barons' War, which was fought between 1215 and 1217. This war was fought between John and his barons, who rebelled against him after he refused to accept the Magna Carta. The war ended with John's defeat and the signing of the Magna Carta. John was also involved in a conflict with Pope Innocent III, who excommunicated him in 1209. This was a result of John's refusal to accept Stephen Langton as the Archbishop of Canterbury, and his attempts to assert his own authority over the Church. John's reputation as a weak and ineffective king has persisted throughout history, and he is often remembered as one of England's worst monarchs. However, some historians have argued that his reign was more complex than this simplistic view suggests, and that he faced many challenges that would have been difficult for any monarch to overcome.